but nightlife has been suffering in London. How do you feel about the decline, and what are the implications there of nightlife kind of not surviving as it used to?
Nightlife was always important to me. I mean, I met so many people. I met, Jasper Conran, who I worked with for 4 years. I met him at a club. I met, Stephen, who was John Galliano's assistant, at a rave. John Paul Gaultier at clubs. All Ray Petrie, Judy Blame, like all at clubs and parties and going out, and fashion and music always sort of like mixed together, and it was just great to be part of that kind of creativity again, and also to see my friends who then went on to become DJs, work with incredible musicians or open their own clubs, or like doing Golf Sale and then Family and then Boombox with Richard Mortimer. I mean, that was an amazing thing to be part of as well. Again, when I felt like I was actually probably a bit too old to be doing the door a club, when we were sort of like letting like 16-year-olds in. And I think, what was great about that was just the mixture of people again, mixture of age groups, mixture of sexualities. And especially with lockdowns and things like that, I think a lot of people have suffered from a lack of interaction with people, and going out and being, I'm very visual, so I like to go out and just people watch and see what people are wearing and how they're dressing and that type of thing. And I get it, it's expensive to go out now. So I think for a lot of people with this whole cost of living crisis and stuff, probably going out, going to pubs, that type of thing is something that they don't do either at all or as much as they wanted to, because it's just financially, like, it's just not viable. But, the Glories moved premises. They're now called the Divine. And that's, it's bigger, and it's got a lot of like younger people are going to it, which is really, really brilliant. And then there's things like, Adonis, which seems to be constantly rammed. So there are people going out and doing things. Maybe you have to look a little bit harder for it. When I first came to East London, there was like the George and Dragon, and then you'd go on to the Joiners, and then there'd always be some sort of house party around. But at that point, East London was really, really cheap, like really cheap. So you could live pretty inexpensively. You could spend the extra money that you had going out, or there were jobs in bars or things like that, which, with more places kind of closing down, there's less of that. So yeah, I'm all for, I do a lot of crits with students, and one of the things I'm always saying to them is like, just go out, meet people, look at people, see what's happening. Don't be in your own little sort of post-lockdown bubble.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the Joiners and how sort of tied that was to fashion as well. Can you tell us what was going on?
Joiners, oh my God, the Joiners was... Join us at the Joiners. Well, I mean, amazingly, and I say amazingly because I'm still to this day not quite sure how it happened, but Richard at the George and Dragon offered me a residency every Friday. And this was like when the George and Dragon was, like Johnny Woo was doing Radio Egypt there. It was like really packed. act and everything else. And I then asked my friend Guy if he would do like ping pong DJing with me, because we'd start at like 6 or 6:30 and we'd be out by, if we were lucky, by about 10 to 12. So that's quite a lot to be doing on your own. So we used to do the George and Dragon, and then it was just a short kind of like stagger up to the Joiners. And when I first moved to East London, I was going out to the Joiners, but the Joiners was like a late night pub. It was a bit, well, there was the Joiners or there was Charlie Wright's. And Charlie Wright's was where all the sort of Arsenal footballers used to go, and was a bit more like a pub. And the Joiners just had pool tables, quite a lot of rent boys, and very, very harsh lighting. But it was an after hours place. And then it started getting sort of DJs in, like the journalist and writer Charlie Porter used to do a thing called Macho City. So then it became a bit of a designation, like a destination place to go to. And the lighting got less harsh. And it became more like a sort of our after hours club. But you could see anybody and everybody in there. I mean, it was just chaos, really. Absolutely chaos, but brilliant, you know, as well. And it only started getting bad when I think it was because of the council and stuff, they had to stop charging on the door. The doorman started getting very heavy-handed with things. I think it probably just, you know, it was sort of killed by its own success, really. It was something that you could see happening, and it was something that Richard Mortimer of Boombox was really good at. He was basically like, he sort of killed Boombox off because he could see the same thing, like the crowd was changing. Targets at Hoxton Bar suddenly had to be hit. There was all these different sort of things, and it was like, yeah, maybe we'll just stop this while we're winning before it just ends up being a sort of hen and stag do place and everybody wearing gold American apparel or apparel or whatever it was called, blooming swimsuits and a cape, and being like, let me in, I have dressed up. Yeah. But I miss the Joiners, definitely. But I think half the people that complained that it was closing probably hadn't been there for about 2 years. So there's that sort of nostalgia thing, and it's meant to be coming back in some shape or form, but I bet it'll end up being a coffee shop and not anything to do with the Joiners as it was. But that's the same thing with, you know, it's like you saying, would you do Sibling again? Or when people say, do you think Boombox could come back? I just think it was that sort of amazing situation we were in where everything was cheap, people had money, there was a lot of foreign students, Shoreditch was just a sort of mess of different types of people, and I don't know whether it would work again now. The residents would definitely be complaining. Most of the time we were out on the street with the George and the Joiners.